Hello, everybody. This is Chalisa. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming back to my channel. Thank you so much to everybody who's listening right now on the podcast. It is Thursday, July 31st, 2025. I wanted to come here and speak to you guys about the Amy Bradley case. I'm going to make hopefully my last episode regarding that case, unless there's something that comes out of this Netflix special. And the reason that I'm making this additional episode, okay, is because a lot has happened since they debuted this documentary on Netflix, okay? Before I continue, I do want to apologize to you guys. I'm using a different type of microphone, so I'm giving it a try. The people on YouTube can probably hear my AC going off here. In Connecticut, it's a very warm weather right now, so I do apologize. I'm obviously having some type of audio issues. Hopefully, I'll get a new microphone soon, right? So I just want to say that. And I also want to thank everybody who has been following the podcast on Apple Podcasts. You guys, thank you so much for doing that. Really means a lot to me. And everybody who has been subscribing on YouTube, please continue to do so. And when it comes to this episode regarding Amy Bradley, please understand that there's a lot of information coming out of it. And maybe I will speak about something that already has been clear by the family, maybe not, right? Excuse me. So please, I do apologize beforehand about that. But speaking about that, right? The Amy Bradley Missing documentary debuted on Netflix, I believe it was 2 weeks ago or something like this, right? I have watched that. The reason that I was so interested in watching that is because I feel like I have followed the Amy Bradley case since I first heard about it on America Must Wanted back in 1998 when it happened. I believe it happened in March of 1998. And I couldn't believe that somebody can be just taken from a cruise ship at that age, right? And I couldn't believe that, you know, there was a photo that came out of that, and they're like, this is her, this is the other. And then I watched some mysteries throughout the years. You always think about her, right? And I came here, I did an episode after I watched the documentary, and I told you guys that there was something off with the story coming from the dad, right? And I'm not gonna go into every detail about what happened with Amy Bradley, how she disappeared, and what happened with the timeline, all of that, because I think if you're watching this video, listening to the episodes, because you already had done your research, you already watched the Netflix documentary. So here's the thing, right? After watching the documentary, right, I came here and told you, like I said, something was off, something is missing from the confession, the interview coming from her father. In my opinion, there was something about his demeanor. I actually mentioned that he looks a little off, and the body language on her photos with him, the photos of Amy Bradley with her dad look off to me. That's just my perception. I could be totally wrong, but her body language in a lot of the photos that they portray with her dad look off, and I couldn't understand that a dad back then, the way he looked like this big corporate FBI looking type of agent, right? And I couldn't understand that whoever took her from that boat, it must have been very bold to do that. Because you're not taking a child, you're taking a 23-year-old grown person who's staying in the same room with her parents and with her mom and dad and the brother, not like another, sister, with her brother, right? So she has the protection of the dad and the brother, right? And the mom, right? And they're staying in the same room, and she's an adult, right? So I was thinking, there's something off with, with the whole story coming from, specifically, in my opinion, from the dad, right? And like I said, I could be totally wrong. I have sympathy for them that this happened to them. But when you put everything on top of the table, there's something off. Something is not making sense. And hopefully we get some answers about this, right? If Amy is watching everything that has been unfolding about her, and I'm saying this, I hope that she comes through and that she gets, she comes and speak, or she gets released. I do believe, in my opinion, that she's alive. Okay, so here's the thing: you watch the documentary, right? The 3 episode, whatever it is. You come to your own conclusions, and then Then you see Brad, right? Amy Bradley's brother, going on every podcast available, right? Everything that's, he's going on every podcast available, and he has the X account now. He's on Twitter, on TikTok. Excuse me, he's on Twitter, and he's on TikTok, and he's just talking. Then they have the group on Facebook, which I don't belong to that, right? And it's almost like he's doing this type of damage control. I don't know what to call it, right? He's like, people are commenting about what happened to her, and he's like, yeah, actually they didn't put this on the documentary. Actually, this is, people are saying this about my dad, but this is actually what happened. And it's like this, he's so determined to he's so determined, in my opinion, that he just wants to speak to everybody out there because, and hear me out, they have all these years and they have done many interviews, right? Why is it when this is presented, let's just say this case is presented to a wider audience, then Brad seems to me like he's so like concerned that he's working overtime to just speak to as many people as he can. And it's not like he's talking about, hear me out, it's not like he's talking about how you know the most that I've seen of him talking about doing the live on TikTok and all of that, I have seen this man basically debunking everything, right? He's saying, we were never upset that she had a girlfriend, she was happy about her new apartment, this and the other. And it's almost like you look at the documentary and then you look at what Brad is saying, it's like you're like, oh my goodness, like what's happening? And I don't know if he expected for him to be doing that after everything came out on Netflix. I don't know if that was his, like, he's like, okay, they're gonna release it this day, so I better be ready to speak on every social media that I can. Because I would think that right now the main focus has to be this case being presented to such a big audience, right? The main thing coming from the family should be, thank you for helping us out. Call this number if you see her. Thank you for this. Call this. I mean, it's been so many years, right? And I feel like the way that Brad, I mean, this is just my opinion, the way that Brad is saying, like, anything that you say, he has an answer for. I don't know how to describe it. If you say, after watching the documentary, there's something off with the neighbor, right? Or there was something that didn't seem right because the dad he panicked right away and he wanted to go look for her right away. And Brad is saying, no, actually my dad, it's like he's working overtime to kind of like keep a control. And when I see that, what you think about, what are we trying to hide here, right? What are we trying to hide? And I understand, I guess when you speak to the media, they kind of like take things away to make kind of this storyline. But like I said, the Netflix is something that happened in 2025. The family has been speaking about her disappearance for so long, right? They have done a lot of shows, and then I just feel like in my opinion, like Brad and the family, they're so focused on Jello that they want to overlook any other possibility. And like you say something to him, let's just say you're looking at him going live and you say, hey Brad, the neighbor, they say that the door to the neighbor, this and the other, and how come you didn't hear anything, this and the other? And he squashes everything off and he said, they saw her 6 in the morning. He said Lori and somebody else saw Amy going with Jello to this place. He keeps saying that story. He keeps saying that, like, I don't know, like, it's like you have the Netflix thing and then you have Brad. And then it's like some people say, oh, it's the Scientology thing. And then you see like, oh no, Brad already said that that's not related to that. It was already, I think the Scientology thing already got watched out. But here's the thing about, right? As the day go by and I see everything that people are posting about the Amy Bradley case, I feel, you guys, that there are things, once again, I'm going to say it once again, there's something that hasn't been fully disclosed when it comes to the family. And the other day, and maybe I'm wrong, the other day I saw on, I think it was TikTok, somebody speaking about how the neighbor, right, that weird odd neighbor who travels alone by himself, that older man, I forgot his name now, they're saying that he actually worked with Amy Bradley's family in the same company and that he was on the cruise because he won a ticket. And I was like, that's just very weird that it was never mentioned before, right? So let's just say maybe they're mistaken. It wasn't him. It looked like him or whatever. Maybe he didn't work with the company. But then the other day I found out that in that cruise, right, with the family, there was his boss, right? Uh, like Amy Bradley's parents work in the same company, the same insurance company. So in the same trip, it was the co-workers and the boss, right? The boss, right? And I'm like, that's even worse when it comes to somebody planning to kidnap her off the boat. I mean, you have to be like the most bold person ever to kidnap somebody who's older, right? 23 years old, is staying in the room with mom and dad and brother, right? And who is traveling with the co-workers of the family co-workers. Like, you must be like, you could care less what people do. You must have a lot of power to do something like that. You must be very bold. And not only that, when I found out that the co-workers were in that trip with them, like, when they realized that Amy was not in the room, and the dad goes out and looks for her, right? And he comes back and he's basically panicking, whatever. I don't know how long that was or something. And you're not going to pick up the phone and be like, let me call my boss and let him know exactly what's happening. And let's get everybody from our company. I don't know how many of them were. Let's get them together and see have they seen something, right? How come in that documentary there was no, from what I remember, I didn't see any co-workers of them talking and say, yeah, I worked with Mr. Bradley for 5 years, and they came to my room knocking on my door on the cruise, and they were like, we can find our daughter. They went to security, and even the security in that ship said they were very forceful. Like, I used it, like, when they do picnics, company picnics, and you go with your family, company picnics, and let's just say you get up to the where the food is by yourself, right? You don't work for that company. You're there because a family member of yours brought you there, right? And then you're just getting your food, and people already recognize that yours. You're so and so sister. You're so and so daughter. Like, they were not in that cruise by themselves. I thought in the beginning that it was just them in that trip, the four of them, and that's it. And I know they mentioned that they won that trip from the company, and they were so happy to also take Brad and Amy with them. But you're telling me in that same trip also there were co-workers in the same trip. It was their boss there too. What is their interview? Am I missing something here? And like I said, you telling me it's just, once you put everything on the table, there's something that's not being said here. Once again, you can read through every evidence, you can look at every photo, you can look at everything, and then you look at all the witnesses, right? That are just so off. Everybody has seen Amy, but nobody takes action to bring her back, right? To do something to help her. Weird. That's just very odd, in my opinion. But then you look at everything, you put everything on the table, and you're telling me that you're in this trip with your co-workers, including your supervisor, and your daughter, your adult daughter, is missing, and you're not going to I mean, if I'm there and you're going to completely ignore like company, your supervisor, whatever, right? And you're gonna go straight to security. Okay, I can understand that. But like, why don't you check with your coworker? Maybe your coworker saw her in the hallway and say, "Hey, you wanna go have breakfast? Let's look at the sunrise real quick, and let's go together." Because I know you're Mr. Bradley's daughter. I saw you dancing or whatever. Nobody's gonna interview you. Like, I don't know what is that, right? This is why my thing is, and I know, like I said, there's a Netflix documentary, and then there's Brad speaking to podcasts and doing lives and all of that. And I don't know if that's helping or not helping, because everything that is presented to him, he's always crashing it off, right? And I also felt the way that they spoke, like I said, if that neighbor was also a co-worker, right? And they're in the documentary, it seemed as though the family was like, we don't really know him. He would just talk to Amy when she was smoking. And I found that, I think if you heard my previous episode, I found that to be odd too, because, dude, everybody in that ship was obsessed with Amy. They take her photos away. The restaurant staff is just so on top of her. Jello is obsessed with her. Everybody knows who she is. I mean, how were they there for like a whole month? People give you that special type of attention when you have been presented or offered for something else. There's no way other than that. And what I was saying about the neighbor was the way they mentioned the neighbor was like, he like coming out to the balcony and talking to him. And I'm like, I will find that to be very weird, because it's a trip. It's a vacation thing. What, 7 days? How long was it? Like, one thing is to make conversation, but they made it seem as though, like, first of all, they made it seem like he was a bit very weird, but now people are saying online that they actually work together, right? So please correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe that was already debunked, or maybe it's true. Who knows, right? They made it seem like he's an odd man, right? That the TV was higher and you could hear him talking to other people. That's a little weird. But then I was like, why would Amy make this big friendship with somebody that is on a cruise? Like, it's a stranger. One thing is to wave at people. I mean, they're strangers. You guys, in 7 days, everybody's going to go back home, right? And you probably will never see them again, right? And it's just very odd. The whole thing is odd. And after I found out, what really shocked me was to find out that there were people in the same trip that work with the family. I mean, it's just very weird. It's almost just adding more to this mystery that something is being withheld. I really pray that they come through, that I really pray that everything gets exposed, right? I really hope that everything gets exposed. There's something that's not making sense in this case. So thank you everybody for coming back to the channel. Like I said, I will probably make a last episode about this if something comes out of it, but I'm gonna be praying that, that's the truth finally comes out regarding Amy Bradley, and that if she's alive and well, I mean she's alive, right? That she gets to be reunited with her family. But I want whoever is responsible for all of this, right, to be brought to justice, and I want that person to be exposed. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming to the channel. Thank you to everybody who's listening on the podcast. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.